I found out yesterday from Netflix that they've got a 97% positive critic review rating, which is unimaginable, because I don't think any of their content has ever garnered such equivocal love. I'm not going to pay attention to some of the other stuff that's happening, because I think that should not undermine the love and the respect and the effort that has gone into making this story. And I've always said this, that Anubhav Sinha has treated me and every artist he's worked with so much love and respect and integrity. And it's such a pleasure to play a thinking woman's part. And I think the more we essay roles of empowered women, the more we will influence society to respond and respect to women from a place of respect. And Shalini is the editor of a newspaper and a news channel. It's a very interesting time in even media history, because there was that transition happening from print to television. 24-hour news cycles were beginning to emerge, and then comes the question of integrity. And in the hurry to deliver the news, how was one responding to the ethics of journalism? And we all know that so many journalists who have very strong ethics have kind of moved away from television news, have set up their own channels, are really fighting for the integrity of journalistic ethics. And Shalini is a representation of that, and of a time where there is a tussle between the journalist and the editor, and how she fights to ensure that the ethics of journalism are not diluted. And the jugalbandi between both our characters, Amrita Puri and mine, was great fun. I really enjoyed working with her. She's another very intelligent, thinking, remarkable woman who's actually studying right now in Oxford, pursuing higher education, because it's something that she always wanted to do. And that speaks volumes not just of the part that she's played in the show, but the individual that she is. And I think these are the stories and these are the tracks that will define how we view women in society at large. I know so many other women journalists who have fought hard to stick their ground, to remain in the workforce and consistently offer it all the strength that they have and all the integrity that they have. When I was asked to do this part, I spoke to some of my journalist friends who were there in newsrooms at that time, and they shared such powerful stories about how they didn't leave office for 72 hours at a stretch. One of them was 9 months pregnant, and she got a call at 4:30 in the morning to show up at the newsroom to report the news, and she drove through the thick fog of Delhi, winter fog, all 9 months pregnant. And these are interesting things that we discover about, our friends in journalism, and I think I carry their stories in my bones. Anubhav has never over-directed me. He's always given me the scenes. I've read scripts that he's shared with me. I've read the script, and there's an understanding. You read the script and you know exactly what part you're playing and how your story is contributing to the narrative, how it's taking it forward. And it's always one little thing that he'll say to you while you're kind of marking the scene on set. So he's a director who never tells you, ye shot hai, you're entering from here, this is where you stand, this is where you sit, at this point this is what I want. No. He gives you freedom, and he gives you space, and he allows you to play. And while you're, kind of exploring the scene, while we're staging it, he's blocking his shots, and he knows how he wants to shoot it, because he's picked up on something that you've thought of that maybe he hadn't. And then if he notices that you may not have picked up on something that he did want, he'll just come and tell you that. And then it's just fun. Naturally, if you've been in the industry for 24 years, there's hopefully growth. And I feel it. I feel it inside me. I feel like I have something much more to offer today than I possibly did when I was younger. And I think there are many contributors to that. One, nothing teaches you more than failure and rejection. So my early years in the industry were filled with all kinds of rejection. I was touted to be the next big thing. There was so much media circus around me, so much love. And then the same people who propped me up, pulled me down very aggressively. And that hurt deeply because I was very young, I was naive, I was not from the film business. I didn't understand the dynamics of how the place functioned. And quite frankly, I don't even think I was willing to, or it didn't feel organic to me to play any game. I just wanted to show up to work and do what I needed to and come back home and run my house. I was living on my own in Bombay at the time. And I think it was around 2000, after I did Lage Raho Munna Bhai and Parinita. And these I think were very important films in my career because it was my first opportunity to work with filmmakers who had a method in the madness, who approached the craft from a place of discipline. There were workshops, there were readings, there was prep, there was so much respect given to the artist to understand the ethos of the emotion, to understand, the direction that the director wanted to take us in, and just the space to be. And that mattered deeply. And I realized then that, okay, this is what it's meant to look like. This is what it's meant to feel like. And then I stepped away around that time. I kind of literally for a year and a half, 2 years didn't take on any work. I stayed home. I did workshops with Barry John. I did a lot of other training sessions. I read a lot. And while I was doing all that, I became involved with some of the, non-government organizations, civil society organizations that I continue to work with till this day. And with them I traveled through the country. I worked with grassroots organizations. I worked with real people. I discovered real stories about real life people. I was so young when I started. And in my early 20s, 23, 24, I gave myself the chance to really interact with life and interact with reality. I think another thing that happens when you join the film business is that you're sheltered. You live in a bubble, you're cocooned because you're always surrounded by people. You're not really interacting with real life that much, unless of course something happens at a personal level. The loss of a parent can be significant. It can really, take you to places you haven't been before. And that happened with me. I lost my father right after Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein and Deewanapan released. And that was a shift. But what interacting with reality does is it helps you grow. It taps into your empathy, and that then contributes to your craft. And I tell every young actor who meets me today for any advice, I always tell them, in the pursuit of a career, don't forget to live. Travel, read, meet real people, get to know the real problems of the world, be a part of those solutions, because that then is something you carry with you into the stories that you're telling. And that also helps you define your space. Who are you? What are you here for? Relevance comes from voice, from understanding what your voice is, from understanding what your purpose is and how you define that and how it is represented or reflected in the choices you make every day, whether it's the choices of stories you're telling or it's the choices that you make beyond that. And it could be because you have interesting interests, hobbies. It could be because you're doing work to impact positive change. It could be an amalgamation of everything. Well, the statistics indicate that representation of women in film is still very low. Having said that, I started working in the year 2001. It's the year 2024. And I see more women on set today than I ever did before. And this shift started to happen about 10, 12 years ago. You and I both know there was a time when a woman could not be a makeup artist. Now more and more families understand and recognize that when their daughters go to FTII or NID or any of your institutions that, make them professionals, whether they're, film technicians or they chose some other form of media, that their children are not going into a dangerous place, that their children are going into a space where they will be respected. And that sense of safety is coming because POSH is in place. There's a lot more effort being made to ensure that organizations have certain very stringent norms in place. But more than anything else, there are just more women in leadership roles. There are more women producers now than ever before. And that's something to celebrate.